Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to episode 412 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly gamer podcast for words about games. I'm your host with a microphone turned on, this time Amy K. Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Mr. Vitz Patel live.
I heard it helps when you mic's on. What's good, everybody?
I was talking and I was like, that bar's not moving. And, you know, I never do sound checks before the podcast. Like every podcast I've ever been on, you always have to do like sound checks and you have to do like the claps and stuff, and everyone else is like super professional about it. 412 episodes of this, and I'm just like, I've never had that kind of audio issue, so I just rolled with it.
I know. Friends, I took Amy through a slight experience of that when I was running the D&D one-shot for them over on Roll Dice and Play Nice. And we were doing sound checks and all sorts.
No, like the Xbox podcast I used to be on, it was great and I loved it. This is not me like being like critical of it in any way, but it was like super intense setup. It was like, I gotta record my own audio and I've got to clap to do the sync thing, and then we've got to check the volume levels, and then like this, and then we've got to go, and then once we finish the podcast I've got to get the audio over to. And I was like, I mean, I respect it, like, cool, you do the podcast the way you do the podcast, but me, I just hit record. And we talk. Well, but
that works too.
Usually Moody drops in and then we go, yeah, Moody, you're really quiet, and then he turns his thing up, and I don't understand why it's always turned down.
Me neither.
And then we go.
Speaking of Moody, we hope you feel better soon.
Yes, we hope you feel better. Yeah. I'll do the joke again. Yeah, he heard I was going to be reviewing Shadow the Erdtree, and he was like, no, I'm not about that. Fuck
exactly.
That. I'm out. Peace. I don't want.
There's Pokemon to play.
I don't want to have anything to do with this. That might be a smart decision. In about an hour. Our thoughts have been had for this past week. I rolled my Elden Ring playthrough into a Shadow the Erdtree playthrough.
That was a decision you took. Yes, it was.
I was just taking photos and sending them to me as if like me getting closer and closer to Mog. And I thought the last one.
You sent me pictures of the install file in the barn just going creepy.
I sent you the picture. What I thought was funny was I never fought Mog in the original game because I didn't know he existed when I was playing it. And then, but I did fight Mikola. No. Melania, Blade of Mikola. Why did they name them all the same?
I don't know.
But yeah, no, I was taking pictures and I was like, I got to Mog's entrance and I sent you a picture and I sent you the GIF where it was like, pick me up, Mom, I'm really scared. And then it must have literally 4 minutes later, I sent you a picture. I was like, nah, I did it.
There you go. Easy game.
The boss fight took less than 2 minutes. I was like, okay, I guess I just fucking steamrolled Mog. I didn't even have his shackle. Because I didn't know where it was.
He loves to do his nihil bit. You robbed him of that experience. How dare you?
And this wasn't a Moog strategy. This was like a game long strategy. I had the physic, which had the bubble. Like one half of it was like the bubble that prevents the most damage, and I drank it when he started doing his thing. Thinking it would take the first hit. And it took all 3 hits.
Oh, nice.
It prevented all the damage and then the next hit. And I was like, oh, didn't know that was going to happen. That's super cool.
That's a bit OP. Because I'm glad it's in there.
I sent you the video of the fight, and you can see me like when he does the second one, you could see me chug a flask, even though I didn't need to, because I was just like automatically ready to just chug the flask. And I was like, wait, hold on. I'm not taking any damage.
That used to be the strategy. You just had to heal through, just pounding Crimson Blast left and right.
Well, he's got a. You get a specific physic from somewhere, and I had it where, like, if you drink it when he does the thing, it just like negates the curse altogether.
Yes. Yeah.
And I did my classic move of completely forgetting to change my physic when I went to fighting the first time, realizing partway through the fight, and then being like, well, when I die, I'll have to fix this. That's how I beat Dark Souls 3. The Dark Souls equivalent of Rune Arcs, and I was going in to fight the final boss, and I fought him like 4 times at this point, and I kept Ember. You use Ember in that game, and I forgot when I went in, and I was like, oh shit. Well, I'll just like learn some more like dodge timings and do this and do that, and then I'll remember for the next time, and then I fucking beat it. And I was like, okay.
You had the magic in you all along. That's how it works.
It turns out if I'm under pressure, if I fuck myself over, if I make things harder for myself, I'll do better.
Well, maybe because you just had that kind of moment of clarity of, oh, this run doesn't matter. All the pressure is gone because I know I'm going to die, so I can let's try a few things. And it turned out those things worked.
It turns out that all was the perfect strategy. Yeah,
there you go.
Maybe I don't get stuck very often in From Software games. And that's not a brag. I'm terrible at these games. I'm just very good at like covering my weaknesses. Like my health bar stretches a long way because I know I'm going to make a lot of mistakes.
That's how we learn, though. That's how we learn.
But yeah, how was your week? How's your week been?
It's been good. We've been playing a lot more Hades. And now we've got past Meg 3 times. Haven't made it back to the Bone Hydra yet. We faced them once. We got them down to around about half, and then they handed me my lunch. But yeah, so I've unlocked the all 4 of the starting weapons. I did a run with the shield because I wanted to just to feel how it was, and but I forgot that it was a shield.
Trailer, and you were just like, let's go.
I forgot that it was a shield, and sometimes it can block incoming attacks as well. So I need to do another one with that and make sure. I'm having the most success with the spear at the moment, and especially with a lot of Aphrodite's boons that they come and give you. So yeah, having fun, and still at the moment just grinding for darkness, so we can get the. When you res that one time, it can be 100% health rather than 50% health and things like that. And still going for those keys because now there's even more weapons to unlock. Who does that?
Sure. Whoa, what a surprise.
But yeah, so just figuring that stuff out. And then I was watching the release of Hot Lap Racing, which came out yesterday. And whether I had the wrong idea. So it's coming out on PC and Switch. And the Switch version of the game, I think it runs at 30 or something like that, which for a racing game is kind of half of what you're looking for. And the PC version, whilst it runs at 60, I don't think it's a game for me, which is fine because it'll be a game for many, many other people. But, the hunt for a racing game goes on, and maybe we'll get into a little bit of that as part of the podcast
Maybe
today.
we will. Maybe we will. Yeah, I was playing Elden Ring, and I was like, so angry with past me for buying that game on Xbox, playing it on a Series S. Like that, I could it's not going to come up in the review, but it was like there was a couple of moments, especially when I was playing Shadow of the Erdtree, where I was like, "Ooh, that's frame drops." I don't usually experience frame drops in these games, except Dark Souls 1. And then I was like, "It's not the game's fault. It's got to be my Series S." Like, the draw distance was so bad. Like you could. And I think I'd even captured some footage of this. There was like, I was in this level and there was a candlestick with the candles on it. And I approached it and the candles turned on. Like they were like those automatic lights that
magic.
You have.
Yeah.
And then I was like, And then I turned around and walked away and then they went off again. And I was like,
Proximity candles.
There is one really funny thing about Shadow of the Erdtree. I'll save it for the review. It's very funny. But with like flaws not loading in. But yeah, no, like I watched Doctor Who a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think I brought it up on my podcast. I think it just ended. I ended up doing it in like a day and a half, and then forgetting about it. But like, I watched the new season of Doctor Who. Like, I finally just sat down and I was like, I'm gonna watch all the episodes, and then there was only 8, and I was annoyed. As I previously talked about on this podcast, I don't like these 8-episode TV seasons that we have these days. But it was pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it. I liked the new guy, Ncuti
Gatwa.
Okay. And the new companion's fine. I can't remember the character's name. The actor's name. Which is Ruby.
Fair enough.
Ruby Sunday.
But then,
in true Russell T Davies fashion, he puts out some absolutely banging episodes, and then the finale is just a complete mess. In like an entertaining way, but it's just like, man. I don't think I've ever liked a Russell T Davies Doctor Who season finale. But they're definitely like the most.
So I've fell in love with Incuti's work in Sex Education, which was the Netflix show with Gillian Anderson and Asa Butterfield and a few other people. And so I'm really glad to hear that he's nailing it as the Doctor. So that's all good. As the time of recording, I've seen the first 5 episodes of the new season of Cobra Kai. The last season of Cobra Kai. And they're all bangers. So it's gonna be a longer wait till November, sometime when the next 5 drop, and then sometime in 2025 for the final set of 5. So it gets people to re-up for an extra month when ordinarily they'll like binge it in a day, then cancel their free trial, whatever they got. Kind of
every season of Stranger Things I binged in a day, apart from 4. Because those episodes were far too long.
Oh, they were. But thankfully, I don't need to concern myself with season 5. So you're good, Stranger Things. You do you.
Oh no, like everyone sucks, and like all of the people who work on it who suck, and I fully like acknowledge that. But I am gonna watch the final season just because it's been 10 years.
It has been 10 years.
They've only made 82 episodes of television in 10 years. I don't understand how that happened. But also, it's like, I have to know like how it ends. I'm like Phil in that regard. It's like, I've started this. I've gone on this journey for so long. I have to know how this fucking ends. Like, do I think the show dipped in quality from season 3? Yes, I do. But I'm just 4 more.
Yeah.
Like, I have to watch it.
There are like obviously contributing factors to why it's only 5 seasons of shows in 10 years with pandemics and writer strikes and what have you. So, yeah.
But this is also the thing.
And the production value is high. It has to be said. Granted, not on all the episodes. No. But for the majority of them,
I will be.
They put the effort in.
I will be booing the Zionist characters.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them
when they turn up on the screen. Yeah, I'll just spend my entire time being like, boo, and then someone like, did you like it? I couldn't hear it.
Exactly. I'm sure there'll be like a mod that comes out where it just replaces all the subtitles with Zionist says, then it'll be one of a line they say.
That's a good idea. Yeah, no, I'll do my thing. I'll wait until it's all out. I'll watch it all at once.
Yeah.
Like when I canceled Netflix 2 years ago now. Wow. Like it turned out that was the only thing I was bothered about missing out on.
Yeah.
And things that Moody has shown me when I've been at his house.
Mm-hmm.
Like he showed me Nimona.
We're here.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And RRR. And I love that.
Yeah. Friends, if you haven't checked out either of those two, then you owe it to yourself to do so. Nimona is one of the best things I've ever seen, as is RRR as well. So, do yourself a favor and check those out. We heard from the producers of Fallout that they are ramping up season 2 to bring it in a speedier fashion than they originally had intended. Hopefully they'll believe in that show where it can roll out on a week-to-week basis, because I think the conversation is much richer between weeks, and it gives people a chance to digest what was going on in that episode, and it still gives people the option to wait until all 10 or whatever episodes are out and then do the binge kind of thing. But it's kind of have a little faith in your product that it's decent and people don't just want to consume it like it's fast food and then forget about it kind of thing. Let it settle.
Stranger Things. Fallout was a weird one. Was a weird one for me where it was like I did the binge thing because obviously that's how I watched.
Well, that's how it's presented to you. Yeah.
That's not even. That's just how I watch TV most times. But even when it's week to week, I just wait, and I'm just like, cool. Now it's not even binging. It's like I just want to watch this at my own pace, right?
Yeah.
And with Fallout, it's like if I'd have started watching it week to week. Because you and Moody both were getting my thoughts on it as we were going on. I think if I'd have had to wait a week per episode, I would have dropped off.
Yeah,
because I was like having that sort of roller coaster experience where I would have gotten to a certain point and just been like, "Oh, the new episode of Fallout came out 3 days ago."
Yeah, 100%.
let me just watch something else. Actually, I got my free Audible trial. They emailed me. And they were like, do you want 3 months of Audible? And I was like, does that include 3 credits? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, sign me the fuck up. What's on Audible? Patrick Stewart's memoir, read by Patrick Stewart.
Hell yes.
Fantastic. I've only listened to the first chapter and a bit. I'm enthralled by it. It's amazing. He starts singing at one point.
Oh,
and I was like,
amazing.
sick.
A thespian like himself. Apparently, yeah. Why the hell not?
We haven't left Yorkshire yet. Like he's mentioned Star Trek a couple of times, and it's just like I'm trying not to fast forward. It's just like I just want to hear the Star Trek things. But no, it's actually really interesting. He's a storyteller. So
I'm looking forward to the bit where you get up to the memoir where he says, and I opened the script for Star Trek Next Generation, and I saw that this was a Frenchman. So what I decided to do is produce the most English Frenchman you ever heard of.
Yeah. I'll be interested to know when his accent changed, because obviously he's from North Yorkshire, I think, or West Yorkshire, one of the two. So it's like, I mean, I've lived in Yorkshire. They don't sound like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
They don't sound like Patrick Stewart around there.
They kind of do like North Yorkshire Harrogate way, where it's a little bit more posh. But
he does.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
he does bust out the Yorkshire accent, and he does a startlingly good American accent at one point. But yeah, he does the Yorkshire accent, and then he like says like Yorkshire things, and then explains what they mean. And I'm like, I don't need this explanation, but I appreciate that it's here.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, like wow, like he was born in 1940.
Yeah.
Like
That's
he was like
that's
when I
a
was
stint ago. Yeah.
when he was like when I was 5, World War II ended, and I was like, Jesus. I think when I was 5, the Gulf War ended, maybe.
Yeah,
potentially. But wow, like that's a long life, man. You just don't. I mean, I know he looks old and he sounds old, but you just don't think, yeah, he was definitely alive when World War II was happening.
Yeah, but also that's why he's been able to stay so engaged and switched on, because he's kept acting and kept his mind sharp by learning new lines and learning new characters and things like that. So. Yeah, that's why Lester E. McKellen, he's still killing it when he's not falling off stage. But yeah,
but yeah, no. If you like Patrick Stewart, like the first hour and a half of his biography is good so far, so I can recommend it.
There you go.
I'll come back and tell you about the rest later sometime. It's my commuting lesson, so it'll take me a few weeks to get through.
Speaking of reviewing things.
Shit. We have to start the podcast at some point, I suppose. Yeah. So I've spent the last 5 days playing Shadow of the Erdtree, the Elden Ring expansion, pretty much with all of my free time. That's basically how I've been living my life for the last few weeks. It's like, do I have free time? Yes. Then I'm going to play Elden Ring.
Yes.
And like playing through it with the 3 purposes: 1, to capture footage for an inevitable video; 2, to play without magic, because I did my initial playthrough and I did all magic. All magic. And 3, to get to the DLC.
Yes.
And then I got to the point where it was like, you can access the DLC now.
I did see a picture where you did indeed revert back to magic for one
Don't know
battle.
what you're talking about. This is lies and slander. I threw no rocks at someone.
I may have sent the gift to Amy of Mr. Burns speaking to Homer as he's crawled back into the nuclear plant. So came crawling back, eh?
Come crawling back, eh? Like, yeah, I did. Twice.
Exactly.
I used 4 larval tears when I got stuck on 2 bosses. I think it's stuck on the second boss. I never fought the Valiant Gargoyles, the 2 gargoyles, in my original playthrough, because I think I must have gone to where they were, and the Crucible Knights were down there, and they kicked the shit out of me. So I was like, "Oh, I'm not coming back here."
They do.
And then I forgot about it and never went back. So I walked through the door, and I was like, "Oh, I know this," because I've seen like speedruns and videos and all sorts. I was like, "Oh, I know this fight," and like, it's really annoying. It's not hard. It's hard. It's Elden Ring, but like it's not like hard in relatively. It's just that they move around so fucking goddamn much. I was spending too much time running after them, and then when I got to them, they were like, "I'm gonna vomit poison everywhere," and I was like, "This is annoying. I'm gonna throw rocks at you from a distance." Fuck you. And that's what I did.
There you go.
And then I climbed in my little coffin.
Yep.
and
down the
I went
river.
down the river. And I put my
Over the
sword back
waterfall.
on. And I did the Scarlet Rot bit, the Lake of Rot. And it's
Yeah.
like the big puzzle area where you've just got to like pull the things and then lift the things up to.
Each launching boluses.
I took the Amy K. Alexander approach to that puzzle. I identified where the door was on the other side of the lake. I held B and I ran.
Yes.
And every now and again, I just took the potion. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know what? Fuck this. I've done it once. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I ain't got time to run over
I ain't
here
got time for
to
this
hit
shit.
the button. Item over there. We don't need that. I know what it is.
Once again, I went to fight Melania. Melania, Blade of Mikla. Yeah, I went to fight Melania again, and I got to the town in the snowfield.
Yeah,
and I tried to do the skip, where you can use the geometry to get over to the teleporter, and they've put invisible walls everywhere, and you can't do it anymore. And I went, "Oh, do you mean I have to solve the puzzle?" And then I tried to solve the puzzle once, and I went, "Nah, fuck this," and I just left, and I never went back. I was like, I want to go to the Erdtree. I want footage of that. I want to fight Melania, but I was like, nah, I don't like this puzzle. I'm gonna leave.
She's never known defeat.
I'm leaving. Bye. There was a certain
Just have
impatience
Scarlet
to
Rot
my-
by the time you get back to her. It's fine. It's no.
Oh no,
no
I
big
finished the
deal.
game. Like it's
There
done.
you go.
Like I can't. I have to go through the game again.
I didn't take on Melania on my playthrough, and I don't need to. So it's
That's
all
fine.
good.
That's fair.
Yeah. So foul tarnished.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Erdtree.
Now that I got my Elden Ring thoughts out of the way, I did Shadow of the Erdtree. I finished it.
Yeah.
Late last night. After almost
Some very sore thumbs.
After almost rage quitting and uninstalling the game, not because of the difficulty. And I brought notes, and I've just realized why I never bring notes on the podcast. Because I can never see my notes because of my lighting situation. So if you'll just bear with me a second while I set up a
Yeah,
little reading
you
light.
set yourself up. While Amy gets herself set up, video viewers, you might be loving her shirt choice today, which is indeed a special effect shirt. And if you didn't know, Special Effect is a charity that transforms the lives of physically disabled people all over the world through innovative use of technology. At the heart of their work is the mission to maximize fun by helping people control video games to the best of their abilities. They're bringing families and friends together, having profoundly positive impact on quality of life, confidence, and rehabilitation.
Nice. That was smooth as fuck. This is why I get you to MC all this stuff. Like, how's Moody going to intro the Halo stream? Meanwhile, when I did the Resident Evil stream, I was just like, Vitz, do the thing.
Yep. Speaking of, as soon as Moody is feeling well again, we will arrange a date for the Halo stream, because I know many of our friends have been asking when are we going to play, and we will fix a date in the
It will be soon. We are currently dealing with the primary cast member of these streams is currently feeling a bit under the weather, so we will set a date when we can. I want to get through it as quickly as possible. I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward to playing Halo, but I'm really also looking forward to Vitz and also arguing about our favorite games.
Yes.
Not so much the next goal after that, but those two goals specifically, I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, no. So Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. It's the DLC expansion for Elden Ring. You know, Miyazaki came out before it was released and said, "Oh, you know, the map's about as big as Limgrave." He's a liar.
He is. He's a stinking liar.
Never believe a word that man says. That it's like 6 Limgraves stacked on top of each other. It's fucking huge. It took me about 35 hours.
Did you notice how? And this might be a spoiler-filled conversation, friends. So just for
I've got a
specific
spoilers warning,
Yes.
like where I'm going to actually spoil a few things, such as the identity of the end boss. But yeah, if you're sensitive to spoilers, or if you're still playing it, it's like I'm going to make mention of things. You might want to just dip and come back later.
Absolutely. They're timestamps in wherever you're listening. So feel free to use those should you choose. Did you notice with the map and its resemblance to the negative space on the main map?
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
I did, because I was flicking backwards
so cool.
and forwards between them.
Of course, yeah, to bounce to like the round table hold and all that jazz.
Yeah, which was on fire the entire time I was there.
Yes.
Because of where I was in the story, it was just like, I'll get to it. Honestly, I will. I'll get to it. It's fine. Just give me a minute. But yeah, no, I did notice that. I have thoughts on the map. Like, so I want to start by saying Shadow of the Erdtree is a very good video game.
Yes.
I feel like I need to make that clear right off of the bat. And I'm going to talk about things that I really liked in Shadow of the Erdtree specifically. Some of those things are also just things that I like about Elden Ring in general. But I do have 3 main criticisms of Shadow of the Erdtree, again, specifically, that meant that while it was a very good game, it's also a very frustrating game. And this is not going to be me going, oh, the bosses are too hard. Because I don't actually think that. I think there's a couple of solid, but I think there's a couple of brick wall moments in this game for sure, but it's Elden Ring. There were a couple of brick wall moments when I played Elden Ring for the first time as well. Yeah, there's definitely some hard, really, really tough bosses in the game. I don't think the game is too hard. That's not where my frustrations are coming from. My frustrations, because I mentioned this to someone when we were speaking casually about it, and I said it's good, but I'm also very frustrated. And the instant thought was, oh, you mean with the difficulty? No. Not with the difficulty. Apart from those big furnace golem things, I didn't fuck with those after the first time I tried. Not with the difficulty, but with game design choices that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. Did you do the environmental puzzle you involved one of the golems?
Clearly not. Like, okay. I don't know if you've ever seen a golem fight, like in a video or anything, Vitz, but like they do not fuck around.
They do not, no. Yeah, so there's one that's kind of laid over and they're blocking an entrance. And essentially you need to light that one on fire and then they get up and move about kind of thing. And then it allows you access to the place it was previously guarding.
Interesting.
But you need a specific type of item in order to light it. You can't just throw any regular fire pot in there.
Is it like a hefty pot?
Yes.
Yeah, I got a few of those. I didn't actually use any of them. There was one lying down at one point, but it got up on its own.
One. Oh, okay, fair enough.
So I was just like, yeah, cool. I tried to fight one, and I thought
I'm going the other way now.
I tried to fight one, and I was like, oh yeah, no, like I'm sure this will be tough. But I mean, I fought those walking mausoleum things. Yeah. How bad could this be? And then like 30 seconds later, the entire world was on fire, and everything was dying around me.
It do be like that sometimes,
including me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to avoid these guys.
You know when Torrent goes down in one hit, that's when you know what? Maybe not today.
I did show you that one video with the dragon, which had me howling with laughter. But yeah, no. So yes, it's not related to difficulty. The difficulty's fine. Like there's a couple of pressing bosses. There's a boss I did walk away from and never go back to. I love the setup of it. You have to like jump into a very large chasm. And then you land and there's a boss fight. And I was like, that is the sickest intro to a boss ever. And then I fought the boss a few times and I was like, I'm gone. This guy's not very cool boss design. He's not critical path. I'm out.
Yep.
But yeah, no, like because I think the apart from the thing with the shadow tree fragments, which is apparently how you pronounce shadow tree.
It is indeed,
which makes sense. There's a lot of like Gaelic stuff in Elden Ring, so I don't know why I didn't think of that for Shadow of the Erdtree.
It's like Blythe.
Yeah, it's like Blythe. Yeah, and Caelid. And the Shifra River. But it's the bosses in Elden Ring are a lot more aggressive than the bosses in Dark Souls, like even the base game. And as I was replaying Elden Ring and playing Shadow of the Erdtree, I was reminded of this has all happened before. Like there were a lot of criticisms about some of the Elden Ring bosses when Elden Ring first came out, that they were way too aggressive and they had too many combos and you had to dodge for a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, like this happened last time. So yeah, I think that's where the criticisms of this came from. And I agree somewhat. Like I think some of the bosses are stupendously aggressive to the point where it's like, all right, man, chill. You're not in Bloodborne.
Yeah, anecdotally, I heard tale of a lot of people struggling to even be able to summon their mimic tier before, the boss that kind of came across and ended their life kind of thing.
I've got stories, Vitz, in there in these notes. They're coming. I've got some stories. I was so fucking pressed at certain points about some of the stuff that happened to me. But yeah, no. So that was, I think I just wanted to address that. Because it was that thing of like a core memory was unlocked where it was like, yeah, I think I remember like Malekith's second phase, there was a lot of people complaining
Oh
about
yeah.
how aggressive that is. And like having just replayed it this morning, I was like, yeah, you're super aggressive. But like
As soon as they go from beast clergyman and they stab their
Beast
hand, it's over.
Clergyman's like, you just bully him. You just bully him
Yeah.
until he turns into like a fucking Street Fighter boss. And it's just like, oh fuck. But yeah, no. Yeah. That was it. It's an interesting experience. But yeah, so like first off, before I get into my critiques, it's still a From Software game. I'm still obsessed with like how the combat feels and flows in a From Software game. Like there's just something about them where it's like 95% of the time I die in combat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not to misadventures, but 95% of the time when I die in combat, I'm always like, I know why I died, and it was my fault.
Yeah, you know exactly. Oh, I should have dodged it. I should have blocked it instead of trying to parry them. That kind of thing.
I
Yeah,
shouldn't
100%.
have done what I just tried to do. Yeah. Or like, oh, I see it. Or like, it just got me. And like, even when it was just like, I dodged the best that I could, and I couldn't quite make the dodge, and it's just like, yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Whereas like, I play so many other action games like this, and there's always like an element of, well, this is bullshit. Like, or like an input got eaten, or like something, or like I didn't see that move, like it wasn't telegraphed, or they changed their combo, and it was just like, in Elden Ring and Dark Souls, it's never like that, and I'm always obsessed with that. I love that so much. Like even Millennia, who's the biggest pain in the arse in the world, it's just like,
oh yeah, her attack patterns are readable, and you know when she's going to do the waterfowl dance and things like that. And yeah, it is a nightmare to get away from. So I've heard, and so I've seen. I haven't done it myself, but yeah, most moves are telegraphed, and there's a pattern to them where you can know, right, I'm gonna dodge, hezzy, dodge again, kind of thing, or similar to similar effect kind of thing. So yeah, 100% with you there.
Yeah, it's like I think the thing that really unlocked all of these games for me, because I only got into these games via Bloodborne in 2020, so I'm new to them. I'm relatively new to them, considering like Dark Souls was 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about like dodging or blocking. It's like there's a whole kit. It's like running is actually a better dodge than dodging sometimes. And it's like once that information unlocked in my brain, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, even in the base game when you're taking on the Elden Beast and they're firing the razor lights at you, rather than rolling through it, just sprint. Yes, exactly.
Run in circles. It's like Millennia's waterfowl attack. It's like run away from it. I see so many people try to dodge it, and it's like you can't dodge it. You can't dodge this. There's about 15 different. There's like 15 different attacks, right? Run away. If you run away, she can't catch you. But yeah, no, like, and I wanted to throw that out at the very beginning of just like it's still the same in Shadow of the Erdtree. Like I'm still obsessed with like how this combat flows and feels. Like I've got into the DLC with a completely different approach. As I went into the base game the first time I played it, like I said, I switched from magic to melee. I used my Bloodhound Fang build, which was mostly just a pure dex build for like the first half, 3/4, and then I switched to a bleed build part way through at some point, just to switch things up a bit more than anything else. Because I was like, it's like you play a game for 100 hours. It's like if you switch things up every now and again, it keeps it from getting stale.
Absolutely.
And that's another strength of Elden Ring. It's like you get so many different cool weapons and spells to try out. It's like there's so many different ways to approach this game.
100%. There's so many viable builds.
And you get some cool shit in this DLC, like in terms of weapon drops, and like the main bosses drop remembrances, so you can take them back to the place to get like a cool new weapon or a cool new spell.
And you can duplicate them like you can any other remembrance.
And you can do it in the DLC. You can find these sarcophaguses or tombs or and I was very surprised to find that I could duplicate stuff. That being said,
here we go.
Let's talk about my three major points that I want to talk about.
Let's get into it.
There's going to be some praise mixed in with this criticism. The first criticism is actually going to start with praise, in that this world is beautiful to look at. There's a bunch of different biomes, all with different vibes. I didn't even see them all. We'll get into that in a minute. But some of the environment, like you start off in a place and it's like, oh, it's Limgrave, but orange, but like yellow. It's like Limgrave with Altus's skybox, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, I guess. And then about, I don't know how many hours into the DLC it was, but I went to this place called I went to a coast, let's just say.
Yes.
And the whole place is covered in like blue flowers.
The Cerulean Coast, I think it's called, yeah.
I was like, oh, damn. This looks very nice. I was paying too much attention to how pretty it looked, and I got run over by a dragon.
You stopped to smell the roses,
and
the
roses, and a dragon landed on my head. And it was a very funny clip. I sent it to Vitz. I might post it. I might post it on socials after the podcast comes out. Just be like, this is the clip. I survived, by the way. I revived Torrent and I ran the fuck away. But yeah, it's incredibly like lovely, and there's so many different places you go that look so different. Like you go up a height, you go to this other place, and it's like this lush, overgrown ruins, and it's just incredibly cool to just wander around this place and look again. Like and not there's very few developers that do the reveal as well as FromSoft does, where it's like you open a door and you walk out. And the view is just like, wow.
Yeah, it's like in the base game, it's that Limgrave moment. It's that moment you arrive in Liurnia. It's the moment you take coming down the elevator.
And, the Shifa River reveal is it's that's second and on. That's one of the greatest reveals in video game history. And there's a few of these.
It's up there with like Hyrule in Breath of the Wild and like the Vault in Fallout and things like that, 100%.
And there's a few of these in Shadow of the Erdtree, and they never fail to impress. Where it's just like you come out of a cave and it's just like, wow, holy fuck. The map though, Vitz. The map.
Okay.
Like I said before, it's like 6 Limgraves stacked on top of one another. So with Elden Ring's map in the base game, like there are areas to access with like medallions and lifts and stuff, and go through caves, but for the most part it's flat.
Yes, I agree with that.
And interconnected and very like spread out and expanded. And what they've done is they've split all of that off and they've stacked it all on top of each other, so you can see it. You can see tons of different areas, and you're like, how do I get down there? And then 45 minutes later, you've wandered around lost. And then it's like, oh, there's a tiny little cave entrance just over there that I completely missed, and I have to go in there to get down to this other place, which is also the hub for like 3 other zones. And I'm like, I hate wandering around not knowing where I'm going.
Yeah,
I don't mind wandering around and exploring, but when it's like, I'm not exploring anymore, I'm lost.
Yes.
And this happened multiple times. There was an end game zone where I was literally running in circles, and I was like, I don't understand where I'm supposed to go. Like I feel like I've been everywhere.
My thing about that is so the main thrust of the plot of Shadow of the Erdtree is that there are other tarnished with you, and you're all going through and you're all experiencing the story together. In those moments, it'd be great if those other tarnished can pop around and say, oh, it's over here. Here's some signposting for you.
Go that way.
Yes.
Yeah, because you come out of the second, and I hesitate to call it Legacy Dungeon because they're very small, but you come out of a castle, and the next story place is a keep, and it's not very far away. At no point does anyone say, you should check out that keep, mate.
Yeah.
And that keep is really good. We'll get to that later. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go next. There's no guiding grace of light. Yes. Because there's no Erdtree. You're following your own path or whatever the hell they were talking about in the story. So I was just like, I don't know where to go now. And I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind not knowing where to go. It's like, that's part of the appeal of Elden Ring for me. That's part of the appeal of Tears of the Kingdom. That's part of the appeal of the open world games that I've enjoyed over the last few years. It's like, I don't know where to go.
What's that over the hill?
Yeah.
What could be over that hill? Let's go have a look.
Let me check this out. Oh no, I just got my head kicked in. Well, I'll go a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
But the getting lost part really grinds because you need to collect Shadow Tree fragments and Revered Spirit Ash, but mostly let's just stick with Shadow Tree fragments from around the world. And I stupidly thought these things are going to be in dungeons like there's towns that you can find. Like there's a place called Prospect Town, which exists for no reason other than to be there and explore. And I was like, Shadow Tree fragment. Seems like there might be one there. There's not one there. There's nothing of value here. Why did I come here? And I like the idea of the Shadow Tree fragments of being like, okay, so some people might be a bit over leveled for the DLC by this point, because it's been 2 years since Elden Ring came out.
Yes.
So there's like got to be an equalizer. Now, personally, I don't think there needs to be an equalizer. I think the rune progression system is just fine. If someone rocks into the DLC way too over leveled, that's kind of their fault.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they wanted to be over leveled. That's kind of a legitimate strategy for playing Elden Ring.
100%, yeah.
But either way, like, it was a solution to a problem I don't necessarily think needed a solution. But the way they've implemented the solution pissed me off in conjunction with getting constantly lost in the world map, because Shadow Tree fragments are just in random places.
Yes.
Throughout the map. It's like I eventually like pulled a map up, which showed me where they all were. And I was like, there's no way I would have found like more than 10 of these things, and there's 50 of them. Like, because they're just like, there's a guy with a pot on his head in the starting area. It's just some random shadow man who looks like a normal shadow man, and he's holding a pot. He's got one. And I'm like, why does he have one? There's a sub boss like across the other side of the fucking thing in a mausoleum who's a really cool fight. Why didn't he have it? Like, you're not rewarding exploration. Like, you're forcing me to look at a guide.
Because, at some point, they are being deliberately obtuse. I fully agree with you on that point.
And I don't mind the obtuseness. Again, it's one of the reasons I really like the Elden Ring map. Because there is a certain level of like obtuseness to it, right? But this is too far, man. Like, this is far too far. When you're telling me I need these fragments, it's like you got to put them in places where I'm gonna be able to find them, because they work sort of similarly to where golden seeds would upgrade your flask. But you only need 30 of those to fully upgrade your flask, and there's more than that in the Elden Ring world. So you don't need to explore every nook and cranny. To fully upgrade your Shadow Tree fragments, you need 50, and there are 50 in the world. If you want to fully upgrade, you have to find every single one. I don't like finding every single one of anything in an open world game, but I especially don't like it when it's not super obvious to me, and like where it's not like I can't figure out where some of these are. Like, and you have mechanisms in the game: dungeons, caves, towns, legacy dungeons.
You have landmarks where you should place these things. Yeah.
Where I can go, oh, let me see if there's got to be something here, right? And it's like when you take away the fact that I'm not going to change my weapons around constantly. So all of these new DLC weapons are fun for future playthroughs, but right now I don't have the larval tiers to invest in respecking constantly every time I get a new one. Same with the spells. And then it's like the other thing that you could do in Elden Ring, if you go through a place in Elden Ring and you know you explore an interesting place, you fight some enemies, you fight a boss, but you don't get anything that you're going to use, you at least got runes.
Yes.
So you at least left a little bit better off than when you entered. And you still get runes here, but I needed Shadow Tree fragments. I'm not getting much more. I'm not getting any more powerful by exploring. So then I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, I just wasted 45 minutes of my time meticulously exploring Prospect Town, and there was nothing of value here for me. Hence the frustration.
I'm right there with you in that sense. In a expansion where runes are less valuable, giving you runes, and the only thing giving you runes is not of merit.
It's like, congratulations, you killed this boss. He has 420,000 runes, and I'm like, great. What the fuck am I supposed to do with these?
Yeah.
So like, I'm focusing on my endurance and my vigor because I'm like, these are the only two things that I feel like are going to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's like extra health and extra endurance and extra stamina. But there's a sub part of this criticism, which is there are a lot of different zones in this map, and so many of them have nothing in them. Like, it's so ridiculous. There's this to best illustrate this, there is a quest that you can pick up in Shadow of the Erdtree, and I'm not going to go into like super detail. It's actually a really cool quest with a really cool ending that I highly recommend doing. The problem is, you go to this place, this guy's like, here's a map, I go, okay, cool. It leads to some secret ruins. Yeah, cool. And then I'm gonna go to those secret ruins, and I go there, and I'm like, now the place is super cool. Like when you go in, and the theme, and the ambiance and what you're seeing. When I tell you, it's a full zone of the map, and apart from some enemies, and the one thing you need to do, there's nothing here.
And I believe there's 2 of those areas. There's one in south, and one in the kind of middle, and then one at north. Yeah,
there's the first one he sends you to, and there's the second one he sends you to.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no loot. There's enemies, but I'm not going to stop to fight them. I fought hundreds of these things already. But then there's no bosses. I was like, I did the thing that he asked me in, and I was like, and then nothing happened.
That's how they got you. That's how they got you, Ames.
And I was like, all right, well, I'll just teleport back to the guy. And he was like, meh. And then I did some other thing. And then he was like, here's another map. And I went to the other place, and it was the same again. And I was like, what the hell? Did From Software forget to put anything in these places? Was there supposed to be something here?
As a plus side, though, that dude is being protected by an absolute baddie in a cool set of armor.
Yes. And you, when you eventually get to the end of the quest, it's really interesting, and it's cool, and you fight a cool boss. But I was just like, why are there like, and there's more zones than just those two that feel like they're just completely empty. The Cerulean Coast that we mentioned earlier, apart from the one dragon, and I think there's a boss fight like a mini boss fight like further away, because I found it when I was riding around looking for entrances to other places I couldn't fucking find. I was looking for a Erdtree fragment, desperately searching for it, which wasn't being protected by the boss. And there's nothing there to do apart from use that to get to other places. And I'm just like, could you not put something here?
Yeah.
Like, and I got super, especially when I have to explore, find Erdtree fragments. It's like, you're making me explore this world, put things in it.
Yeah, or poured an overabundance of things in there, which are easy to come by.
The Abyssal Woods sounds really fucking cool. I read about it after I finished playing it, but ain't no way in hell I didn't find it. So I don't know anything. I didn't see it, and it sounded really cool. But yeah, so moving on, because there was a moment about 15 hours into this DLC where I got to a place called the Shadow Keep. And I shouted at my TV, where the fuck has this been for the last 15 hours? Shadowkeep is cool. It's not like an amazing legacy dungeon. Like I say, it's good. It's very cool. Like it reminded me of the Grand Archives in Dark Souls 3, but like a worse version of it. But because of everything I'd experienced up to this point, with like all of the places I'd been, like the effect of going to this place, which is like a multi-layered level. It's a keep going into a multi-layered level. There's 2 entrances, but there's at least 4 exits. So like, and like you could do crisses and crosses and zigs and zags and connects to all sorts of different places in all sorts of cool ways. And there's puzzles to solve where it's like you can unlock more of the.
Is this the structure where it's got skeletons in the middle and they're rising up, or is that the other place?
Yeah, you pull a lever and the thing swings around, or like you come in from the other side. There's another entrance you can come in from, and it's like it's full of water, and it's like you can drain the water, and that leads somewhere else. But it also leads back into that building, and but in a different side, and you can climb it a different way. And it's just like, and that's when I sent you that text, and the text read, "Shadow of the Erdtree is annoying me when it's trying to be Elden Ring, but is brilliant when it's trying to be Dark Souls."
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I think like if I had to come to some sort of conclusion, I'd be like, I wish this was not open world. I wish this was a series of dungeons connected by some, and maybe like
just like a hub.
Yeah, you get and maybe like there's a peel off where you go to do the quest thing I was talking about, like quickly just do that and then come back. But like the open world aspect, I think really hurt the experience, and I feel like that was brought into sharp contrast by the fact that I did the Shadowkeep. I loved the Shadowkeep, and then I left the Shadowkeep, and I was like back to open world bullshit where I was lost looking for entrances, and it's like I was literally circling the same place, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Help me. I never found the map fragment for that place. I could see where it was, but I was like, I don't know how to get there, and then fuck it, I'll just try and find my own way. The Shadowkeep is also home to Mesmer. He was an incredible boss.
Yes.
Really, really loved that boss. Everything, the setup, the mid fight transition, the two phases of the fight. The second phase where I died the first time because I was just like,
I was just looking. Yeah.
What am I supposed to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have where did I put that serpent hunter? But yeah, everything about it was great. The lead up to it, the fight itself, and I want to specifically praise Mesmer. There's another boss I'm going to specifically praise. I'm going to do it in the spoiler section because I got some things I need to say about that. But like it was the first boss I truly enjoyed in the DLC because for some reason in Elden Ring, in the base game, whenever I didn't know what the fuck was going on a lot of the time. Like I don't follow the story of FromSoft games very well, so I just go by vibes. And like approaching a major boss is always a really cool experience because like the dungeon and you're going through it and you get that sense. It's like I am approaching a big fight. And I've heard about the person who lives here because people have been talking about them because I've been finding all this stuff about them. Like Renala, Godric, Godfrey.
Yep.
So it's like when you get there and it's like, oh, I'm fighting Godric. Like, this is the guy that I've been hearing about. And you see this badass cutscene halfway through where he rips his arm off and fucking replaces it with a dragon head. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Badass, yeah.
And then you get to these boss fights. And like, it's like you walk up some stairs and through a door, and there's Rolana.
Yep.
The knight, and I'm like, okay. And she doesn't have an intro cutscene. She doesn't say anything during the fight. She just transitions into phase 2 by turning her swords on, and then it's over. And I was like, okay, that must have just been a mini boss. No, here's a remembrance. And I'm like, that was supposed to be one of the big bosses of the game. Like, what the hell? Like, there was no build up. There was no payoff. There was no anticipation. Even the dungeon was fine. The castle, it was fine. It was a bit short, but like it was cool to explore. But then it was just like I didn't get that sense of I was building towards a boss fight. It was literally I opened a door, and then there was a boss fight, and I was like,
"That's it."
Hiya.
Hi. Exactly.
The only time that worked was the hippo.
Yes.
Like the hippo comes out of
hippo.
fucking nowhere, and it's amazing. Like you just walk through a door, and it's like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it works there. Like I really enjoyed that one. But like, yeah, it happens so many times. It's like you just walk around a corner or up some stairs and then you're in a boss fight. Wow.
You come across the boss that has essentially like moth or butterfly powers, and it's the prettiest thing you've ever seen. And
maybe?
she's out here and she's casting spells and essentially turns the whole environment into like a floor of butterflies that come up, and
she does the butterfly anyway. She's a required
That's
critical path boss. Yes, I did that. She doesn't have any build up or anything.
She does not.
I walked up some stairs. Someone invaded me. I don't know why. Like the last time I talked to this guy, he was like, "Oh, we're best mates, me and you. I owe you a favor." And apparently that favor was he's going to stick his sword up my arse.
Yep.
And then I killed him.
He's going to try.
And then I killed him. And then I turned to my left, and I was like, "There's a boss gate." I thought I was entering a dungeon. There was no dungeon. There was just the boss arena.
She was the dungeon, as it turns out.
So that was a little disappointing because she's like the boss. Her role in this story is kind of along the same lines of the boss you fight right before you have to go off to the mountains. Morgoth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like her role, or like the fire giant, I guess. Like that's kind of her role in the story, and I was like, oh. But like there was no dialogue or anything like that. It was just like it was a very cool boss fight. Loved it. The butterfly area was great. The first time I was like, oh, butterflies. Ah!
Yeah. Oh yeah, fight.
No, it was more like, oh, butterflies, and then they all started exploding.
Right.
I regret things. Shit. I thought I was safe. Yeah. So like that disappointed me quite a bit because like again, I'm not following the story of what's going on here. It's more direct for sure, but like I definitely didn't follow it greatly. Because it's still that FromSoft storytelling style where it's like I'll figure it out later. Yeah. Right now I'm going off of vibes, and the vibes weren't great for most of the boss fights. Like there's a lot of NPCs. They sure talk a lot of shit. Spoilers start here for everybody who's spoiler reverse for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. So like click away to the next timestamp. This is me buying you time to get to your device and navigate away. So yeah, the only good thing I experienced with all of the NPCs was when I got to kill most of them. That was probably my favorite fight in the game. It was great. It's right before the end boss. Like
and they all come up. It's like there's
the knight
like
is all like, so you're here to kill Miquella, and I'm like, I don't know, I guess. Like again, I don't really know what's happening, and then she's just like, well, we're not gonna let you. Fuck you. And then the summon sign appears, the invasion sign appears, and it's like, you are the boss. Like that's the vibe I got from this fight. It's like, no, I'm their boss.
Yeah, and like I think Freya's one of them, and
So,
but you can summon
Ansback,
like
who's like this
Ansback,
old guy
yeah.
who's like, oh, I don't know if I fight so well anymore, and then like he'll fight a god, and it's like, no, you're a badass, like. But you summon him. But what happens is like you go in, and it's you versus one of them, Freya, I think, or Leda, one of the two. I get them mixed up because they're both.
Leda
knights.
comes up fourth. Yeah,
right, so it's Freya, and then you're fighting, and my mimic is there. And then I was getting the upper hand, and then Moore, the guy in the big thing, didn't see him appear, threw a giant pot of scarlet rot at me, and I died. And I was like, oh, it's like that, is it? All right, let's fucking go, motherfucker. So I took my preserving boluses in. And then like Moore turns up, and then Dine?
Yeah,
Dane. I was wearing his hat. It's a very good hat. He turns up, but then Anspec turns up, and it's like this fucking full-on like brawl. And then like Leda turns up at the end, and it's like just this fucking class moment where there's just so many people fighting each other, and it's like I was like, this is why I'm here. Like this is why I play these games. This is so cool. And like I died a bunch because like it's like a 4v, but it's like a 4v3. It's like the coolest barroom brawl scene you've ever seen in a film. And I was like, this is fucking great. Like, I was having so much fun. It was mint. I like, the AI is set up so that, like, they won't all aggro onto one person. It's like, if my Mimic tier starts fighting Moore will aggro onto them, and then another character will aggro onto me. And like the moment I realized I had truly fucked up was when that Dan aggroed onto me, and he just started fucking kicking me in the head, and I was like, no, leave me alone, please, no, somebody help. Ansback, save me.
That's it.
But it was such a fun fight. It was the only time I enjoyed all of these NPCs being on screen, I'm gonna be honest. Like, they just wouldn't shut up about Miquella.
Kindly, Miquella.
And it was super annoying. And I was, anyway. The one run up to a boss that I super enjoyed, though, and this is why the spoilers really started here, was Bale.
Yes.
Now, I hate fighting dragons in Elden Ring, and that did not change here. But Bale, like, is the coolest. It's got nothing to do with the boss. It's the coolest thing in Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree because of Egon. Like,
yes,
the voice actor of doing the quest, like, he's great on the run up, but then like you summon him into the fight to help you with Bale, which even if you're someone who doesn't fight with summons, it's like you summon this guy. But the whole approach was great. It's like you talk to Bale, you talk to Egon, you ride to the Jagged Peak. You go through a dungeon, which is only like 4 rooms and a boss and a mini boss, and it's nothing. But you get a cool sword to fight Bale with.
Yeah.
And then like you find this dragon priestess, and she's talking about how Placidus acts as her like boss and stuff. And I'm like, cool. I didn't actually kill that one, so we're good. And then she's like, do you want to eat this? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll fucking eat that. So this whole weird FromSoft stuff. But then you start going up the mountain, and it's like there's dragons fighting dragons. And like as you're going up, it's like, and Bale's up there because this Egon guy's been talking about him. And like, you're going up and then the lightning starts hitting. And it's like the dragon lightning. And then like you get further up and the storms are blowing and stuff. And I'm just like, this is how it's done. I know where I'm going. I know there's a badass at the top of this mountain, and the whole approach is fantastic. And then you summon Egon in, and all you hear is "Curse you, Bale," and I'm just like,
exactly.
this is an 11 out of 10. If the whole game had been this, this would have been game of the century. Like, and he just talks mad shit. It's amazing. With a hail of harpoons. And I'm just like, please, I'm trying to concentrate. This dragon trying to kill me.
Yeah, the lore around Bale is wild with how they tie into the essentially like the Lord of Dragons, the God Dragon, and all the rest of it. So the playthrough I was watching, they got to the two dragons fighting each other, and you've got to take them both out. But what you can do is stand back and
you just wait and one of them dies.
wait it out kind of thing. But then it was it was this like white colored dragon, kind of 2/3 up the mountain.
Sacks.
That's it.
I just ran past him.
they kill him quite a few times, and the run back to that boss is quite lengthy. So I will say that. But obviously, yeah, there's a State America, I think, as you go into Bale, and for those, for those who are of the opinion that I don't want to summon anybody because it makes the boss harder. One thing I learned, and you may know this already, kind of thing, is that if there's summons within the boss arena, then they don't make the bosses stronger. It's only if you summon them before the veil, as it were. That's what makes the bosses stronger.
It does.
But so don't be scared to summon them in.
This is one of those thematic things. It's like summon Egon because it makes the whole thing so much cooler, and like it elevates the whole thing. Because Bale's a fucking son of a bitch, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You just mentioned it. Summoning inside the boss arena. So summons is one of those great equalizers of difficulty. It's like the assistance thing that Miyazaki and From Software are always talking about. There's summon signs. You summon NPCs to help you. The bosses are, how do I put this delicately, extremely fucking aggressive at the second you step into their arena.
They sure are.
The summon signs,
time to go ding, 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 ding.
The summon signs being on the other side of the fog gate don't help. The first time I summoned Egon into the Bale fight, I did it really quick because like I'd figured out where it was, and I'd repeated this step a few times. And then all I heard was, "Curse you, Bale!" Just as Bale scooped me up in his mouth, smashed me about a bit and killed me. And I was like, so there's no time to actually summon Egon into the fight. So it's like, if I need help, which I do, as I cleverly mentioned at the beginning of this that I suck at these games. And it was the same with like summoning. It's like trying to summon my little mimic tier to help me, and it's like I'm dying because I'm summoning, and it's like, why? Yeah, that's my question. Why? Like even Melania walks towards you slowly because she knows like you might need to do some stuff, and it's like this sucks. Like, and there's no other way for me to say it. Like dying, summoning my spirit ash is no fun. Dying, summoning the summon who's on the ground as part of the story of the game that I'm playing is the worst. Why is that not just outside?
Yeah.
Just let me summon from outside. Well, it makes the boss harder. Yeah, motherfucker. I summon for every fucking boss. I don't give a shit that it's got more health. It means that I get a second. Sometimes.
Although I wouldn't bother summoning Tholier in the last fight because they do nothing.
I didn't summon Tholier in the last fight. I skipped his quest entirely. I wasn't fighting that fucking boss. It was a nightmare. But I did summon Ansbeck. The last fight. The thing I was going to say before I get into the spoilers of the ending,
go for it,
was the whole thing about run-ups and lead-ups and stuff. Nowhere is this worse than when I was just running around the map looking for Shadow Tree fragments, and there was a big sound, and then the text popped up on the screen, "Somewhere Miquella's Great Rune has shattered," and I was like,
"Yeah,
okay," and that was it. And I was like, I feel like that should have been a bigger moment.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I feel like that should have happened after a boss fight.
Yeah,
like maybe 100%. Maybe Messmer has Miquella's Great Rune for some reason, and killing him breaks it. Like instead of it just being this random event, which it turns out is critical to the story of Shadow of the Erdtree.
100%. That's what shatters the spell that's controlling a few beasts and beings.
And I was just like, this kind of sums up a lot of my problems with the
it makes you
Shadow of
rethink
the
some
Erdtree.
MPs, some of the bosses, and think maybe you're not such a total creep. Maybe just half a creep. Still creepy.
It's not your
but
fault.
Maybe yeah, that's it.
But yeah, it's just like a lot of my problems that I have with Shadow of the Erdtree can be summed up by the fact that that's just some random thing that happened while I was riding along a field. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Is it time activated? It's not. It doesn't seem to be.
It's area
progress.
activated, as I've found out. It's like if you progress too far up, like one of the 3 paths towards the thing, it's like it'll just happen.
Right.
And I feel like it shouldn't. Like that should be a thing that happens because of something that I do that isn't just riding around on torrent.
Something you have more agency in.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, something I had more say in. But yeah, no. But yeah, apart from that, the fact that the final boss is Radahn is ridiculous. Like, I say I don't follow From Software stories too well. Radahn's story was very easy to follow, and again, it follows that similar thing. It's like you meet a couple of people, they talk about this festival. You go to the festival, you talk to them, you talk to these people again. They're talking about this guy called Radahn. You talk to the guy. He's like, Radahn's the biggest fucking badass ever. But like, then all
the
this
stars
shit
in the sky.
Yeah, he's literally holding the stars in the sky, and I'm like, oh damn, that sounds pretty cool. And then it's like, and
he's got a little horse.
He's got his little horse, and like his mind's gone, and he just wanders around, and he needs to die an honorable death. And then you go in and you summon everyone, and it's the most epic fight in Elden Ring. And then he dies, and then the stars fall from the sky, and I was just like, that was like my favorite like narrative arc of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So when I walked through the fog gate, the door to the final boss, and I saw the outline, and I was like, oh, you didn't. You haven't.
It was all a setup, Ames.
And you're like, it's Radahn. And I was like, no. It was perfect. Why? Where's Miquella? I want to kill Miquella. It feels like I should be killing Miquella. And then she turns up and she makes the fight cancerous. Like, I can handle the first phase, no problem. And the second phase, the whole fucking arena, like, lights up like it's fucking Christmas.
Yeah. the AoE attack they do, where essentially you just have to sprint at the out of the ways one thing, but then seemingly every single melee attack they do has this kind of radiant AoE that happens with it, and they seem impossible to read. It just seems so. It's RNG just at that point in terms of whether you get hit or not.
that is a criticism I have of that boss in particular, and maybe like a couple of other ones, like the more difficult ones. It feels like when I beat it, it wasn't because I learned patterns and got good. It was because I was lucky. Like when I finally managed to get all of my summons off against Bale, it didn't feel like, oh, I timed it really well. It felt like I just got lucky with the attack that Bale opened.
Yeah, he didn't eat me before.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to kill me before I did this.
Yeah.
It was the same with Radahn. It's like the opening move. It's like I dodged it right again, while pressed right up against the fog gate. And I realized that was my sound strategy, not because it was a good spot to counterattack from, but because it meant that my summon got in.
Yes.
and attacked faster. And I was like, that sucks, man. Like, just give me 5 seconds to get set up, man. Like, you let me the last time I fought you.
I was, we don't necessarily have to talk about specifics. I was kind of let down with the kind of cutscene that plays after Radahn and Miquella go down.
Well, I was like, cool. So now it's Miquella's turn, right?
Yes.
I didn't think the DLC was over.
Yeah.
The DLC was over. And then yeah, it was just it's you're done. And I was like, so Radahn was the final boss of Shadow of the Erdtree. And I didn't feel good about that.
Yeah.
And then I put it together and I was like, that's why you have to kill Radahn and Mog before you go into the boss. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And Mog is under a spell this whole time until...
Kind of ruined my favorite storyline in Elden Ring. And I really didn't like that.
Damn you, Miyazaki.
But you told it so badly.
Yeah.
Like, if you'd done a better job of the lead up, maybe I wouldn't have been so pissed. I was laughing when I saw his silhouette. I instantly recognized him. And then the music goes "Ba-da-da-da" when you see
Yeah.
Radon for the first time, and I was like, I already knew who it was. He's stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
pro tip, friends, Malekith's Blade really, really good against them.
yeah. So, I used the pole blade that I switched to for bleed because I was like, I need some help here. And obviously like it procs a lot faster when you're going to mimic, also hitting them with the bleed weapon. And Ansbach's just a fucking badass, and you can summon him from outside, thankfully.
Yep.
He's like, and like, don't believe him when he's all like, oh, my old bones. It's like, nah, he throws down.
Yeah, he's got hands.
He can
when
fight,
he needs
man.
to. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I did like you right before you fight Moog, you do have a conversation with him where you're like, so about Moog, and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know you killed him. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's nice that we're having this conversation considering every other NPC in the game has just tried to kill me. It's nice that we can clear the air. So yeah, that was Shadow of the Erdtree. Like there were moments where like Elden Ring broke through, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a game I enjoy. I almost forgot. But there's just some design decisions that make it a very frustrating experience in a lot of ways. Yeah. And nothing was starker than that, and the fact that I played a bunch of Elden Ring before going into it, and then when I was finished, I went back to Elden Ring, thinking maybe I've just played too much Elden Ring. Maybe that's why Shadow of the Erdtree. And then I was like, no, I didn't. This is great. I'm enjoying the fuck out of what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Although the aggression of the bosses does make the. I saw this posted on Reddit, and I'm gonna repeat it here because it kind of rings true with my own experiences of going back to Elden Ring. The bosses in Elden Ring now feel like they're moving in slow motion a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I fought Radagon, and I was like, I'm sure you used to be way faster. And it's probably just because I've had to deal with all of that bullshit that I'm just like, oh, you're 100%. Going really slowly.
Yeah, like kind of Radagon's second phase when they start teleporting, that seems to be the norm of Shadow Tree bosses.
That's like the dancing lion.
Yeah. There's two dancing lions as well. Yeah.
Can I just say, if From Software are going to continue to speed the game up, can you fix the camera? Because when the lock-on camera, the speed that these bosses are flying all over the place, and the lock-on camera does not function when that happens, and you're just like, and I'm like, oh shit, where am I?
Especially Mesmer is flying around his arena when he's doing that.
I had to abandon lock-on for a lot of these boss fights to have any idea of like understanding of where I am and what I'm doing. Like I just say no, I'm not locking on. Mesmer was one fight. I was like, I can't lock on.
Yeah,
he's moving too quickly. And then I killed him. It worked. It was fun. But yeah, those are my thoughts. It's a good game, but it's a flawed good game, in my opinion. Just before you all have a go, in my
absolutely,
opinion.
Which is completely valid, as is your opinion, dear listener.
Let's just say, it has not troubled the top of my From Software tier list. When I'm sitting there going, I wish this game was more like Dark Souls 3. I mean, something's gone wrong. And I like Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
But that's my thoughts on Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. Curse you, Bale!
Exactly.
I feel like I need to like PayPal that guy some money. Like,
yep.
I feel like I owe him money. Like, he made the experience of this DLC. I fucking loved that.
I'm sure the VO is on Cameo or something like that. We can send him a couple of bucks that way.
Yeah, like get him to read something for special effect. Just the monologue. I wasn't prepared for his monologue. With a hail of harpoon. I'm just like, oh, please tell me there's footage of him in the VO box. I need to see this.
With the veins popping out on his neck and everything when he's giving it the business.
Yeah. I'm going to find him on social media, and I'm going to personally like thank him for
his
work, because I loved it so much. But yeah, that was Shadow of the Erdtree. Let's do a little bit of an indie game of the week, lean into a little bit of a halftime. For those that don't know, Indie Game of the Week is the thing we do every week where we talk about a cool-looking, upcoming indie game that we think you should wishlist because it looks really cool. We have a Steam Curator page, which is linked in the description down below. Click on that. You can see all of our previous indie games of the week. We're over 100 at this point. You can wishlist those, buy the ones that have come out, and just generally support indie developers. There'll also be a link to specifically this week's Indie Game of the Week if you just want to go directly to that store page and wishlist the game. This week's Indie Game of the Week is Silver Pines, a survival horror Metroidvania in which you play an FBI agent called Red Walker who wakes up in an empty diner with no memories of previous events. You explore the small town
chestnut
of Silver Pines, Washington. You begin to untangle a web of conspiracies, betrayal, and intrigue, soon understanding that something has gone terribly wrong, but that there might still be a chance to set things right. This is a town full of... I specifically like these bullet points, where it's a town filled with secrets and mystery. A strange and charming cast of characters inspired by the X-Files and Twin Peaks.
Tick in the box, tick in the box.
You know what else was inspired by Twin Peaks? Alan Wake.
Alan Wake, exactly.
I mean... it looks really cool. I was having a look at it today. Like, I've got this big list of games in a document, and when I don't see something that pops off for me to immediately put in, I go back through it, and I'm looking through Steam pages that I've obviously been seen before, and this one stood out to me this week of oh shit, yeah, this looks really great. There's too many indie games. I can't fit them all in 1 week.
That's why we have our curator page where anybody can go any time of the year to go through all the indie games of the week that we've featured. And be sure to wishlist. Wishlist does so much good. It allows games to go up the ranks of discoverability. So Steam has a better idea of which games people are vibing right now, and we'll put them on the front page of stores and things like that and get much more visibility, more eyeballs on them. And developers love it when you wishlist them. And wishlisting is not only a thing you can do on Steam, you can do it on a number of platforms as well. So whenever you see, particularly an indie game that you like the look of, be sure to give it a wishlist.
Do that. Right. I need to get some air into this room. I need to refresh my drink. So let's take it over to halftime Vitz.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? I hope you're having the best day. The Words About Games podcast is fundraising for the fabulous team over at Special Effect. If you didn't know, Special Effect is a charity that transforms the lives of physically disabled people all over the world through innovative use of technology. The heart of their work is the mission to maximize fun by helping people control video games to the best of their abilities. They're bringing families and friends together, having a profoundly positive impact in quality of life, confidence, and rehabilitation. Amy, Moody, and I have been working on a number of streams to bring you a whole host of shows, games, shenanigans, and more. Everything from ranking Resident Evil, becoming the noble team in Halo Reach, and finding our competitive streak in legally distinct and 90s game shows. We've got several more charity streams in the works, and with your help, we can get there. Special Effect is a charity near and dear to our hearts, and we'd love your support in raising as much money as possible to bring the joy of video games to so many more people. Simply click on the link in the description below of wherever you're enjoying this podcast, or scan the QR code you see now. That will take you to our Just Giving page, where you can learn more and donate. If you're not in a position to donate, that's more than okay. Times are tough and we understand. Please consider sharing our Just Giving page on social media. It will help spread the word and the work that we're doing. Thanks for listening, and for now, let's get back to the podcast.
We're back.
Hell yeah.
My ice water. It's got ice in it. Clickety clank.
Nice. In your Nerg glass.
In my nerd glass. It was the one that was closest to me.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, I forgot one thing that completing Elden Ring has led to is I'm having a bit of an existential crisis of what do I do now? You know, when you devote your time to something for a month, and then you're just oh,
it's your whole life, and it's okay, now what do I do?
This is the thing I sat down to do every day for the last few weeks. What was funny was because there's a bunch of games come out today, and including a couple that I was interested in. So in my head, I was kind of hopefully I can finish Elden Ring plus Shadow of the Erdtree by the 18th. And and I did.
There you go.
But now I'm still like, so Dark Souls.
Give your thumbs a chance to heal first. for goodness
Literally,
sake.
literally, I was like, oh, what do I do? And I had some YouTube videos on like that I've been like needing to catch up on, because I've been like watching speed runs from GTQ for like weeks. And I was like, oh, I've got like a backlog. So I'm watching through the backlog and stuff. And I'm like, okay, what game do I want to play? And literally the only game my finger hovered over the install button of on Steam was Dark Souls 2. And I was like, what's wrong with me?
There you go.
Maybe I will. Who knows? I don't know. Even I don't
Mhm.
know. We'll see what happens. I think I'm going to take a break. I've got board game day on Saturday, so I'll just do nothing tomorrow, do that on Saturday, and then after that we'll be like, yeah, let's see where we get to. See where we're at. Let's just see. Maybe I'll just play the entire FromSoft catalog. Apart from Sekiro, I don't vibe with Sekiro. Great game, not for me.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, Vitz, you wanted to talk about something completely different for our usual topics. This is a great thing. So, in case anyone didn't pick up on it last week, we made a change to how we do the podcast, where it's like, instead of having this big list where we pick through it and everybody like goes, what should we talk about? It's like, I bring a thing, you bring a thing, Moody brings a thing, and then that's what we talk about. Moody's not here this week. Moody broke it almost immediately.
Anything, so yeah.
Moody broke the formula almost immediately. But yeah, no. One of the things we talked about in Discord was, I think this is going to be cool because we're going to bring things up that we're passionate about that we might not otherwise have brought up. So I'm really excited to talk about this thing. I know nothing about. That was all a preamble to lead to Vitz. I don't know anything about this, so you're gonna have to explain this.
So, friends, we are talking about GTRevival. So, this is a upcoming racing game. Huge shocker! Vitz is talking about racing games again. So, this is an upcoming racing game which has gone through a name change, and the senior figure behind it is kind of infamous within the sim racing community for what they've done in the past, and has garnered themselves a bit of a reputation. So I just wanted to go through their story and what they're promising again, and the kind of perils of that, and more to like assure my own fears of don't fall into this trap again, because this man has done in the grand scheme of things, not terrible, but terrible things to the racing game space. So GTRevival is a game made by Straight 4 Studios, who is headed up by a gentleman by the name of Ian Bell. They are famous for previous GT titles back in the day, and they went on to make their own studio called Slightly Mad Studios, and they released.
I know that.
Yeah.
And they developed a console at some point.
They sure did. they did a lot of things, and they made the Project Cars games. Now, Project Cars, for those who aren't in the know, Cars was an acronym for Community Assisted Racing Simulator. Essentially, he crowdfunded two racing games, and the point of those was okay, we're going to do a bunch of crowd funding, and then that's going to let us develop the game. So they raised a ton of money for Project Cars 1, and they released the game, and it was a broken mess. They fixed a few things and then decided, you know what we could do? Instead of fixing what we have here, is do another round of crowdfunding and release Project Cars 2, which we're going to promise even more for. And that's what they decided to do. So, and then that game came out, and it was horribly broken, especially on consoles, which is where your boy decided to play it. I didn't have a PC back then, so console was the only option. Yeah. So I was taking a look back into my PSN profile, and it can tell you like the number of hours you played in certain games and things like that. In total, I've sunk over 600 hours into the Project Cars franchise across the two games. My relationship with Project Cars 2 and trying to get it to work, and the the spreadsheets I printed out, where essentially it was very modular in the fact that you can go and you can tweak not only the car's setup in terms of the gear ratios and spring rates and rebounds and what have you, but also the physics for each car. And it had one slider called SOP, which was seat of the pants feel. That was a thing that it had. Now there was people online who released mods which had a different, essentially all the parameters that you would need in order to dial that in. On console, however, that wasn't a thing. So what I chose to do was to essentially make note of all the different settings for all the different cars I wanted to drive, and then plug them into the game individually. And then for many things, they were still not broken. The road cars in this game were awful, but the one thing it did have going for it was a banging single-player career. And one of the things I've lamented on this podcast many times with is that I've been jonesing for a racing game with an amazing single-player mode for eons at this point. And Project Cars 2 had the bare bones of this, but sadly, all the things it had around this in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay feel and all the rest of it ruined that experience. And I describe my relationship with Project Cars 2 as abusive. In terms, I tried my best to love that game, but it was not happening. So the Project Cars franchise was sold to the folks at Codemasters, who you may know as the people who developed the Formula One license game at the moment, along with they've snapped up the WRC license as well. So they have those for the World Rally Championship. And actually, is that with EA? Either way. Then they made Project Cars 3. And Slightly Mad Studios was swept up within Codemasters, and Project Cars 3 came out. And Ian Bell came out, and he did what he always does. He was promising the world, this is going to be the game that brings it all back. This is going to be sim racing at its finest. And what was it? It was an arcade racer. Everybody was annoyed about this one. And
it's like the Fallout thing. Everyone disliked that.
Yes.
I just want to
everyone disliked that.
I just want to say, you said 600 hours in Project Cars 2.
Yeah.
I just opened up my Xbox app, and I've put a grand total of 175 hours in Elden Ring.
Yes, nice.
So that's less. You played a lot of that game.
I tried my best. I gave it more than the college try, as some people would say.
Sure.
Yeah. So Project Cars 3, by that point, I'd learned my lesson. I was like, you know what? I know a snake oil salesman when I see one, and this man is one of those. So I avoided it. A lot of people still bought it, was bitterly disappointed. Then he decides, right, I don't like this Codemasters, who were also acquired by EA. That's where the connection lies. Got it, right. So EA own Codemasters, who then own Slightly Mad Studios, who developed Project Cars. So Ian Bell decided, you know what? We're done with this life. We're gonna spin off again, and he made a new studio called Straight 4 Studios. It's a play on engine configuration. So you get V8s, V6s, Straight 6 engine. This is Straight 4, like a 4-pot engine like you'd find in most road cars, that kind of thing. He decided to align himself with a publisher, one that has been reviled in the industry space.
You're gonna have to
Amy, I'm
narrow
gonna
it down
have
for me.
Amy, I'm gonna give you a guess.
A reviled publisher. Let's see.
The publisher itself, is PlayOn, and they are owned by someone, and they start with an E, and they end in ding 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 points.
They start with an E and they end in oh no.
Yeah. For those who aren't aware, so Embracer Group they have a roster of publishers within their family of group,
like
and
they company, and then they have like publishers, who have like studios,
and they allegedly bet the whole house on a $2 billion investment from the Saudis coming through, and they bet the whole farm on this. Now, what do the Saudis do? Say no, thank you. And then ever since they've been laying off publishers and closing down studios left and right to try and make somebody happy. At this point, I don't know who, because investors can't be happy with anything that's going on anyway. So, because they were in cahoots with Embracer Group, they have now switched publishers and with a new publisher called Giant Software. Giant Software is one that I'm not familiar with.
Research.
Yeah,
mode.
but the don't worry, the rabbit hole ends soon enough. So
I like rabbit holes.
GTRevival is the title that they're coming back with, and they're making all the promises again. They're making so many promises about having an amazing single player career, having a multiplayer that rivals
way.
iRacing, which is the in many circles the peak of the peak when it comes to making sure that multiplayer races are clean, and it gives you a safety rating, which means that when it comes to matchmaking and things, you'll match with people not only of a similar skill but of a similar safety rating as you. So you're less likely to be biffed off the track by some angry people, and all the angry people, they are left in the lower leagues when it comes like that, because they don't have the safety rating in order to enter some of the more prestigious events, we'll say. So they're making all the promises again, and I just wanted to kind of make a PSA. I know I referred to this gentleman as a snake oil salesman, and I still believe in my heart of hearts that's the case. However, lots of new people have been floating around the space, or coming into sim racing, especially during the pandemic. They might not know the lineage. And then here's the kicker. So GTRevival now has a new name. It's now Project Motor Racing, which, friends, you may think is very similar to Project Cars. He says it's unrelated, but I think the tiger hasn't changed his stripes, and he's setting people up for a failure again. In the kind of roundup of interviews he's done, he's ended a few of them by saying the first people who come to his steakhouse in Germany off the video with the special code that he says will get a free lunch. I was like, okay.
But there's no such thing as a free lunch.
This is the thing. Is this another lie he's trying to spin? I don't know. But yeah, apparently he has a steakhouse in Germany as well. But
interesting. What's it called?
Yeah. So the steakhouse or the
steakhouse?
The game.
I know people in
I will
Germany.
find out. I will find out what the
I might have to send
steakhouse is
someone on a
called.
fact-finding expedition.
I understand
incidentally,
it's
German,
Munich.
Giant Software makers of farming simulator.
There you go.
I just looked them up, and their website is basically farming simulator.
So Project Motor Racing is what this game is now called, and
Legally
it's supposedly
distinct Project Cars.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And apparently it's heading to early access towards the end of this year. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. October marks 20 years since Ian Bell's been launching or making games in this whole GT model, and it's more a cautionary tale of, if this game turns out to be and it's everything this man's promised, happy days. But I don't see that happening. I would refrain from pre-ordering anything that this gentleman comes out. He's a snake oil salesman in my heart, at least. I hope that's not the case for you, dear listener. I hope that whatever he's selling, you're buying, and it's everything you ever wish for. I've just been burned one too many times by this man. So, Project Motor Racing, you're on the. there's a load of red flags around you right now.
Fascinating. I knew none of this. At all. So it's just interesting to hear a side of gaming I don't really know much about.
Mm-hmm. And when Moody's back, I'm sure he'll mention some Pokemon business, which I know nothing about. So it swings and roundabouts.
The most ambitious early access program. Wait, does this game, Project Motor Racing, does it have a Steam page?
No. So I tried to look for one. It does not have a Steam page, nor does GTRevival.
Interesting. Why does Project Motor Racing, a game which is coming out in early access later this year, allegedly, not have a page that I can look at? And I would very much like to do is I would like to go through the game's store page and have a look at its features. That would be what I would like to do right now. It doesn't sound like I'm able to. Let's have a look at the. Do you remember when the website used to? Do you remember when the internet used to be browsable?
You mean it's not just full of AI nonsense?
When it's not like, do you want cookies? Do you want to sign up? Do you want to turn off your ad blocker? Oh well, yeah, fucking.
Do you want some push notifications to go with that? So allegedly they'll be making a a big song and dance at Gamescom at the end of August, which makes sense given their alleged German connections. So hopefully the page will go up by then, but I wouldn't hold any breath.
I mean, they're gonna have to sell the game somehow. Like I would assume, like you know, no, go away. Sorry, I'm just shouting at the internet.
For more nuggets of information, they were building this game on Unreal Engine 5, and then decided, you know what, we're going to do it all from scratch. We're going to build our own engine. So I'm sure that's going to. That's
blackjack and hookers. Okay, I found my way to straightforwardstudios.com. No, I don't want to eat cookies. Leave me alone. Wow, that's a lot of. Let's just go to the homepage. We'll see what comes up first.
Yeah.
The drive for authenticity. Reality refined. A new engine for a new generation of racing sims. Straight 4 features the key talents that have shaped Sims racing's legacy over 2 decades. The unique heritage includes AAA bestsellers such as the GTR series that defined a generation of modders and the multi-million selling Project Cars franchise. AI-driven physics engine, AAA motorsport simulation. There's a lot of fluff here. Ooh, Ian Bell, CEO. What do you say? We've always been inspired by the passion in our community. After all, that's where we started from. Empowering the community has always been in our DNA, and we're really excited with our new engine's capabilities and power. It will be a big step forward for our modding community and for sim racing's unrelenting drive for maximum authenticity. They're talking a lot about the engine, and what this reminds me of is when they announced Halo Infinite.
Yes.
With a very fancy-looking cinematic, and the only information it was now in the Slipstream engine or the Slipspace engine, and like it was that was a new engine. No games had ever been made on it, so no one really like that was like, okay, that doesn't mean anything to anyone about anything.
Yeah, it's not even like with Frostbite at EA and the general feeling of in the first couple of years, nobody liked using Frostbite. They didn't know what it could do. And they just had to fudge their games in order to use it.
Yeah, which is like, you know, like engines. A lot of people misunderstand how engines work and what they are. Like, I feel like every time Bethesda releases a game, like I feel like I see like 100 takes misunderstanding what a game engine is. But like, yeah, when your unique key selling point is an engine, and like nebulously, it's not like this engine specifically can do these things. It's just we have a new engine. It's like cool. What does that mean?
That goes with that? Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to me. An engine is a set of tools that you use to build a game. I'm glad you have an engine. You're gonna need one, but I have questions. Yeah, here it is. In October, Ian Bell will celebrate 20 years. It just says early access, but it says it in air quotes, which is weird. Signed off and comfortable of calling the most ambitious early access program ever seen in sim racing.
This is some Sarah Bond language right here.
Isn't it beautiful? Wait. How many sim racing games have ever been released in early access?
A fair few. So like,
okay.
Yeah, there'll be a healthy number of them.
Okay. I was like, is that technically true because it's the only?
Yeah, it's the only one.
Sim racing early access. Really?
There's one that's recently just gone. Rensport has gone into open beta, which I know is separate to early access kind of thing. But yeah, that's been a bit of a mild launch as well. Le Mans Ultimate is currently in early access, and there's a few others as well.
See, this is why I need you here because I don't know these things. And you can tell me like what the deal is. Gamescom is Wednesday the 21st of August to Sunday the 25th of August, and like their latest post on their website is like, see you all at Gamescom. So we'll see what happens at Gamescom. I look forward to part 2 of the Electric Boogaloo of this saga.
But yeah,
interesting. I like learning.
That's me too. They are not the only ones who have spun lies in the past and continue to spin lies.
I almost said no, and you're like, let's talk about this. My answer was almost no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be early into the podcast, everybody. Because we don't really want to talk about this next story, but we have to.
We don't have to.
I know. No,
I could tell you more Elden Ring stories.
Friends, when we do get into this story, you'll understand why we're so has some reticence to talk about it, because it's so sad and so. It's not surprising. It's just utterly disappointing.
Yeah, you take it away with it.
All right, so Microsoft DEI lead blasts company in internal email after team is reportedly laid off. Quote, Microsoft is reportedly shutting one of its diversity, equity, inclusion teams, according to an internal email sent by the team's leader from a significant number of Microsoft staff last week, in which the lead also accuses the company's executive leadership of, quote, investigated evidence discrimination, harassment, and toxicity, end quote. This is all from IGN. The email, first reported by Business Insider and corroborated by IGN, was sent by the former lead of one of Microsoft's key DEI teams. In it, they state that their, quote, role and team were eliminated due to changing business needs as of July 1st, 2024. IGN understands that the individual and the second person in their team were both laid off, but was not able to reach the sender for comment. The email goes on to assert that DEI programs are in danger, not just at Microsoft, but across all businesses. There's a large quote here I'd like to read, and maybe we can get you in for the same.
You're gonna say some words, and I'm gonna have a hemorrhage.
Yeah, some of these things are going to be incredibly triggering, dear listeners. So, in the words of Samuel L. Jackson,
here's a trigger warning for racism specifically, but I'm sure we'll get into some other isms as
absolutely.
the discussion
Hold on to your butts, everybody. Quote, unofficially, in my opinion, not specific to Microsoft alone, but the Conservative Policy Plan, Project 2025 looms and true systems change work associated with DEI programs everywhere are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020. Hence, a purposeful and strategic 3 to 5 year shelf life of many companies' inclusion commitments post the murder of George Floyd are being reevaluated, end quote. And the way I see it, the timing was impeccable, so businesses everywhere could reevaluate the path forward should their US federal contracts be at risk of the work continues on its face, end quote. All that translated. Sorry, go ahead.
I haven't been on Twitter since this news broke, but I assume Mark Kern came in his pants when he saw this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
there's
all of this translated. There was all of this is saying obviously after the murder of George Floyd and how that was tied into the last election cycle over in the United States and the kind of rhetoric around that time of obviously the continued movement to the Black Lives Matter movement and similar programs to that really had a drive amongst most corporations in terms of DEI is really important. Now the subtext is changing because of the infamous rise of former President Donald Trump and seemingly the Democratic Party falling over themselves to shoot them in the foot, shoot themselves in the foot. Sorry, that's a bad choice of words. So the Democratic Party seemingly in shambles.
Fumbling.
The Republican Party, yes, fumbling is probably the better word to use. The Democratic Party doing what the Democratic Party do best, and as many of you may know, with the attempted assassination on Donald Trump, I think has only sped up the fervor over in the Republican Party, and people are reading the tea leaves and saying, well, Trump's going to be in office, right? Going to be in office come November or January or whenever the actual switch is, kind of thing. So all of the quote unquote decent stuff we were doing and the human part of human resources and in terms of driving diversity, equity, inclusion, all that stuff goes out the window because the Republican Party doesn't give a crap about any of those. And the cards are stacked against us. So, in order to protect what's most valuable to us, i.e., our money, we should lay off all these people now, so we can focus on whatever's going to make us the most money going forwards.
Like, I'm speechless. Apparently, yeah, because like obviously the rise of Trump and like the guy who took a shot at him, did him a really big favor. Like
Yes.
that one photo alone, like that got taken. It's just like that's
going to be history books.
That's
Yeah.
a historic photo for a lot of reasons. In the same way, certain photos of Adolf Hitler are historically significant today.
Yep.
Like I'm not. I don't buy into the conspiracy theory that it was like, oh, they did it to themselves, like to boost their popularity. Like that's fucking nonsense. Like, and I think it's important to remember that someone did actually die.
Well, two people died, not only the
yeah.
shooter, but
at this shooting, like someone actually died.
a
But
former firefighter from what I recall.
but like the parallels between 1930s Germany and 2020s America are getting startling. In a really scary way, and like I think a lot of people are and not just in America. Like America is the biggest country in the world. Like so, like people around the world are obviously terrified about what's happening in America right now. This didn't help, and Microsoft coming out and being like, so it's fascism from next year, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna support that fascism as best as we can. Really doesn't help. Like I don't even know how to like talk about this, man. Like,
Yeah.
like Project 2025. I don't have it at hand. Like I've read bits and pieces about what Project 2025 is. Like
None of it's good.
Terrifying, utterly terrifying. Like it's skin crawlingly terrifying. But the fact that Microsoft's seeming goal is to like work within that system. Like there was a word for people like that in Germany in the 30s and 40s, and like they're just like, yeah, it's cool. We'll be fine. We'll support the system, and it's like cool. That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. I know this is a kind of a disjointed segment, dear listener, and it's one of these where we are both struggling to talking about it. Microsoft have come out with a statement, obviously saying they're still committed to DEI. Just to quote, spokesperson Jeff Jones said, quote, our DEI commitments remain unchanged. Our focus on diversity and inclusion is unwavering, and we are holding firm on expectations, prioritizing accountability, and continuing to focus on this work, end quote. Given everything Microsoft has said and then done in their actions, let's take this year, for example. Never mind what they've done last year, kind of thing. If anybody holds this quote with any amount of water, you are a fool.
I mean, they didn't say that's not true, which I always think is very telling as part of any statement about in response to anything. Like, not a part of that statement said, no, that's not true.
Yes.
So there is my first red flag about all of that. Because like the closing of DEI, like when 2020 happened and the Black Lives Matter movement like took off and corporations were tripping over themselves to virtue signal, like to use a phrase that used to mean something. Like the response correctly from a lot of people was like, well, we'll see where you're at in the future, right? Like in the moment of 2020, like it makes good business sense to show that you're supporting this cause and this movement. But like in 2021, 2022, and so on and so forth, it's like all these corporations still gonna actually like put actions to the words that they're doing right now. And as far as Microsoft is concerned, if this is all accurate, then the answer is no, they're not going to follow through on the actions. They just wanted the good PR, which I think a lot of the corporations that rose up and did something in heavy air quotes in 2020. You know, I think they were just after the good PR.
Mm-hmm. And it's the same as companies every Pride Month rebrand themselves, and every July the 1st go back to the way they were, because it's a token exercise for them. It's a PR
easy.
move.
They just color in their logo, and then they're like, "See, we support." It's like the Labour Party right now in this country.
100%.
We're going to ban conversion therapy. We're also going to do a bunch of shit to trans people, and it's like, well,
Yes.
you know, it's a similar thing with that, where it's like, oh, we're going to color in our logo, but then we're going to take it off, and also we're not going to put the colors out in like our subsidiaries in countries that are hostile towards LGBTQ plus people. That makes it a token exercise, and like, it is scary to see Microsoft sort of potentially, allegedly, pulling their support for DEI. But by the same token, I feel like their support was not genuine in the first place. So I'm not overly concerned that they're doing it. I'm overly my overly concern is the reasoning as stated in that email.
Yes. And I think this is true of any corporation. So the IGN article here discusses about how Google and Meta, who are the company behind Facebook, for those who don't know, have begun to make significant cuts to their DEI programs. They launched back in 2020 as well. So there seems to be a trend of the type of companies who are at least being reported as to doing this. I'm sure there's countless others which haven't made quote unquote headlines yet in terms of what they're doing here. But all you need to do is kind of look at the space and look at the industry as a whole, and which way they are leaning, because they are reading the tea leaves and they are solely thinking, how do we survive? And whatever morals we profess to have, they were paper thin to begin with. It does not matter. We will do whatever it needs to make the most amount of money for our shareholders, for our investors, for the C-suite, for CEOs and executives, and fuck everybody else. And it's one of these where...
And if people have to die along the way, then so be it.
So be it. Absolutely. And this week over in America is the RNC, which is the Republican National Convention. So essentially where the Republic Party get together, and essentially they're all falling in line with Trump. And I know this isn't in video games, but there's a particular thing that these people are doing. So as many of you know, Trump was allegedly shot in the ear, or sustained some sort of ear injury. And there's pictures going around today of people wearing essentially bandages on their ear in solidarity, one would say, or support of Trump. These are the same people. Yes, cult. And these are the same people who wouldn't wear a mask because they're not sheep. And yet they are putting bandages on their ear in reverence to their glorious leader.
A rule of thumb which has tended to be more accurate than not when it comes to like seeing the things that MAGA cult members say and do, is it's all projection. Like the amount of times I've seen a person talk about how everybody's like, all the LGBT are groomers, for example.
Yes.
Turn out to be a groomer is startling. Like, this isn't even if I had a nickel, I'd have 2 nickels. It's like, I'd have more than 2 nickels.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I just want to interject with that. Like, that's how I tend to deal with these people.
You're 100% right. And that the cult over there, they won't listen to reason. They won't listen to facts. And the whole thing just makes me feel utterly hopeless. And at the RNC, people were brandishing the sign saying mass deportations. And it is a future which is going to happen, because I can't see the Democrats. I'm not saying the Democrats have all the answers and they've got it all right. This is in a similar situation to which the UK was in a couple of weeks ago, where it's not necessarily voting for the right candidate, it's voting for the less evil of two. And you're still voting for evil, quote unquote, in this situation. And it's kind of...
It's one of the best replies I've ever put in a message stream. The
Yeah.
lesser of two evils is still evil.
It's still evil, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this sadly won't be the last story of this we'll read in the video game space, and yeah,
like okay, like to go all in on American politics talk outside of video game spheres. The Joe Biden sucks. He sucked for 4 years. He sucked for a lot longer than 4 years. You know, it was something I acknowledged in 2020 when he won the election. While a lot of people around me were like, yeah, you know, like, no more Trump. And like, I get that no more Trump thing. It's like this time, I get it. Like, I like, you can't let Trump win.
Yeah.
Like, you can't let Trump in. Like, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, before he was the president for the first time, like, all I kept hearing,
Obama was running
well,
the
he's
show.
not going to be able to do that much. You know, there's checks and balances, and he went about dismantling a lot of those checks and balances during his presidency, which was obviously what he was going to do. You know, I saw a lot of people who professed to be incredibly smart and, you know, politically switched on, like, just read a book about 1930. I beg you.
As a sidebar, the recent thing he was convicted for was holding documents inside his hideous house, and because of his people he installed during his presidency in the Supreme Court, they've now thrown that court case out. So he's no longer due to be sentenced or go to prison. Something around those issues, but essentially, he's put all the people in place. Yeah, where he can essentially just make any rules that he wants.
This is
because it's an official act of the president, in air quotes. It just goes to show that the Republicans' response was, well, you know, Biden could have set this up in terms of him trying to be assassinated and all the rest of it. If that was the case, then Biden could do this under the official act of presidency and get away with it.
Yeah, he wouldn't need to do it in secret. He could just walk up to him and shoot him in the head.
But of course, he's a 90-odd-year-old man and has trouble
like
walking a flight of stairs. Never mind running a country.
No, like, I don't think Biden should be above criticism. I don't think anyone should be above criticism. And like,
when he's funding genocide,
he's Genocide Joe. Like, I've called him that on multiple occasions. But in a choice between Biden and Trump, you have to choose Biden, and it sucks. It really sucks, and I get it. Like, he's a horrible, evil man, but he's not going to dismantle democracy in the next, like, over the course of the next 4 years. Like, I dislike passionately anyone who, like, responds to criticism of Biden as, oh, so you're going to let Trump win? Like, no, we're critical of Biden because he's Joe Biden, for a variety of different reasons. But it's not. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that if Trump wins this election, you're not going to have another election in 4 years.
Yes,
that's not what's going to happen. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. It's an incredibly nuanced and complicated topic, but like, if you let him in, again, read a book about 1930s.
There is hope in terms of, okay, the UK was able to scramble, and I get it's a much smaller country and all the rest of it. They were able to scramble together an election in 2 months. The election is until November over in the United States, and they could have the Democratic Party could have a gathering, say, in 6 weeks, and say, okay, anybody who wants to come and lead this party, step on up, make your pitch, including Joe Biden. And then why don't they all just have a rational conversation about who the actual best candidate is to actually make this happen?
Sounds like you're describing a primary. Maybe they should have had one of those.
Maybe, but who knows?
Look,
in any
bringing this
respect, we're
back
all
to
doomed.
Microsoft,
Yes.
I don't know how to feel about this and about Microsoft going forward. Like, because it's not a shock. It's not a surprise.
Mm.
I'm already angry with Microsoft anyway.
Yep.
Like, it's one of those things where I was looking at our special effect tiers, our milestones, and looking at Halo as being like the next thing that we're doing, and it's just like right after this, like right after this, this comes out, it's like we're gonna sit down and play Halo, and like we're gonna do it for a good cause. We're gonna raise money for a charity, but it's like, I don't know, man. Like the proximity doesn't feel amazing to me.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying. This is a conversation we can have offline. We can switch things around, but yeah, to your point, 100%. The vibes around Microsoft are rancid right now, and it's this leaves me with nothing but an icky feeling.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I think it's one of the reasons why it's like why this particular section of the podcast has been a complete mess.
Yes,
it's just like it's this vague, icky feeling of just like, yeah, I don't like this, and I don't know how to express my dislike of it. God, I'm so sorry for anyone who was like, "Oh, an Elden Ring review," and then it's like this. But yeah, no.
And this isn't just to dunk on Microsoft. This is only the latest company in our space which has been.
We're a video game
reported to be
podcast.
doing this.
I say this to Moody sometimes when it's like these issues are obviously wider than just Microsoft and video games. This is a video game podcast, so we talk about things through the lens of video games.
Absolutely, and we might hear that Sony have done similar things in the next couple of weeks. We might not kind of think it's not just we're dunking on Microsoft. This is the evidence. This is the information we have, and we are commentating on it and commenting on the way that we only can.
Yeah, I'll say the same.
This is horrible.
I'll say the same thing I always say when stuff like this comes out, like the jamming. All right, this is. I don't know how to word this better than I currently am, but the industry needs diversity to thrive, and like I wholeheartedly believe that the industry is the games industry is a better place with more diverse voices. And I appreciate DEI initiatives for what they try to do, or what they say they're going to do, especially the legitimate ones, not just ones that have been set up so that companies will look good. But I'll say the same thing I said 4 years ago. Jamming minority people, heavy air quotes, in at the bottom of video games, like the bottom rung of the ladder of video game companies, isn't going to help or fix anything. Like it needs to be a top to bottom. There needs to be a movement that goes from top to bottom. There needs to be, non-white, cis, straight people at the top represented, in the middle represented, and at the bottom represented
on all levels. Absolutely, yeah.
And what a lot of these initiatives focus on is getting people in at the bottom, and that's not helping. Because those people can't rise further up. In fact, most of them get laid. Most of them are first out of the door in times like we are currently facing with mass layoffs, which I believe has passed 11,000 this year.
It has.
So it's a weird one where it's the symbolism for me that matters more than the actual... Like, if Microsoft really have axed their DEI department... It's the symbolism to me of that move that matters more than the actual act of it, because I don't believe the DEI department at Microsoft was doing a great deal to actually further the cause of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But the fact that they feel that they're in a position where they can act something like this is a worrying sign in and of itself.
Yes.
Like they don't need that symbolism anymore. And that's the worrying part to me.
100%.
This is why I do video essays. I can write things down before I say them.
But yeah, shout out to Red Valentine for always crushing it with their journalism.
Business Insider for breaking the story in the first place.
Absolutely.
When I saw this
Business
pop
Insider,
up,
I wasn't going to do the paywall thing to really.
I don't have the money. I'm so sorry. I would have if I could have. Like when I saw this pop off, I was like, oh, it looks like it's from a site that, like, we had this experience where Moody dropped the link into Discord a few weeks ago and was like, I don't know if this is legit. And then it was like, turned out it wasn't. Like, this is why I'm very careful with the sources that I use. But it was like, this is Business Insider. This is legit. Yeah, these people are real journalists. Oh dear. And then Reb stepped in and it was like, yeah, she's like the realist in the game space. It's like, yeah, this is a thing. Like, yeah. Shit. It's not time for Indie Game of the Week, but it is time for OpenCritic Head-To-Head. Let's bring the mood back up, I guess. Yay.
Yay.
There's a Doctor Who episode called Dot and Bubble that I feel like is very appropriate right now. You should all watch it. This is the game that we play every week where we try to guess the OpenCritic scores of upcoming releases, which feels a little bit pointless right now. Whoever guesses closest to the score gets a point, but if you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. Last week we had the unenviable task of trying to guess the OpenCritic average of 5 games. So we'll start from the top. The first game we tried to guess the OpenCritic average of was Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus. Vitz, you guessed it would get an 83. Amy, you guessed it would get a 79. Moody, you guessed it would get an 84 at the time of recording.
How does he do this?
Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus has an OpenCritic average of 84. Do you know what annoys me? It's the fact that, like, when I wrote that note at the bottom that said Moody won this game in, like, February, he got mad.
Yeah,
he was like, "How dare you say that?" And I was like, "But it's true." Like we used to do this game where it was like 1 game a week, right? And we picked a game, and it was always like, "We need to do more games. We need to do more games." And I was like, "No, because someone will run away with it, and then it'll make the game pointless." And then I made the switch because he was annoying me, and then he's running away with it because we can keep going. With League of the Scores. The next game we tried to guess the OpenCritic average for was Dungeons of Hinterberg. Vitz, you guessed it would get a 78. I guessed it would get an 81. Moody guessed it would get a 77. At the time of recording, Dungeons of Hinterberg has an OpenCritic average of 80, which gives me the point. Thank fucking God.
Yay.
What if we combine our points? We still won't be beating him.
We still wouldn't be leading. No.
We'd be closer.
Draws need to get in here as well.
Vitz and Amy versus Moody. That's what we should do. We might have a chance. We also try to guess the OpenCritic average of Flintlock Siege of Dawn. You guessed it would get a 75, Vitz. I guessed it would get an 88 because apparently I was high that day. And Moody guessed it would get an OpenCritic average of 80 at the time of recording. Flintlock Siege of Dawn has an OpenCritic average of 70, which gives Vitz a point.
Woo.
We also tried to guess the OpenCritic average of Shim. Vitz, you guessed it would get an 80. I guessed it would get a 77. Moody guessed it would get an 81. At the time of recording, it has an OpenCritic average of 73, which means Amy gets a point. And lastly, we tried to guess the OpenCritic average of Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. And if I knew that this game didn't have online leaderboards when I made these guesses, I would have guessed a lot lower than I did.
Only Jeff Grubb knew.
Vitz, you guessed it would get a 75. I guessed it would get a 78. Moody guessed it would get a 74. At the time of recording, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition has an OpenCritic average of 72, which means Moody gets a point. The current scores on the doors are Amy 19, Moody 30, Vitz 9, and 5 draws. No, I haven't won. What are you talking about, Amy? That's just what I'm fucking talking about. And I should pick I need to pick one of those games to play, or any game to play. Maybe I'll scroll through this list and have a look at the games that we've guessed and just pick one based on vibes. But this week, we're going to guess the OpenCritic average of 4 more games. And I have a bone to pick with you, Moody. I know you're watching. You knew that it was time for you to go first, which is not an advantageous position in this game.
Sure isn't.
Like, you have to put your score in first, which means we can react to your score. So instead, you threw a sickie so that you can guess last. after we've already guessed. So, how dare you? I hope you feel better soon. Much love. The first game we're going to guess the OpenCritic average of is called Erdtree. It's got the accents above the E's, but I couldn't make Google Docs do that with my keyboard.
A relaxing painting game set in Montreal.
It is. Looks very nice.
It does look very nice. I am going to go.
Should I just guess for Moody?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just 100.
Oh, everyone
Probably fucking will. Yeah, Vitz, what do you think? It's a very relaxing game. I think it was at a game, the Tim Schafer thing, Day of the Devs, the year before last, not this year, but the year before.
It's already on your wish list. That's awesome.
Of course it is.
I would like to go with a 75, please.
I've got great taste, Vitz. I don't know if you know this about me. My taste in games is immaculate.
I too have added it to my wish list. It looks awesome.
I'm the trendsetter around here.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to guess an 80. I think I have most... No, I don't have all of these games on my wish list. The next game we're going to guess the OpenCritic average of is the star named Eos.
Amy,
you already have it on your wish list.
Yeah, there's another one. This is also on our curators list, so hell
it is, yeah. It was a previous indie game of the week. Again, I saw this somewhere. I don't know where. But yeah, it's a story-rich puzzle adventure built around photography. I don't know why I said photography like that.
Oh, I really like the logo treatment of Silverline Studios as well. May I go for a 78, please?
Photography. It's like I'm Samwise Gamgee. Potatoes. Photographs.
Boil mash and stick them in a stew.
I'm going to guess that this game is going to get an 80. Fuck it. It's all the way down.
Yeah.
The next game on the list is Arranger, a role puzzling adventure.
This game looks incredible. I would like to go for an 83, please.
Yeah, good call. Now, I shouldn't say this because, again, Moody's going to listen and then make his guesses accordingly, but there's buzz around this game, Vitz.
There is.
Not just from here, not just from in this podcast, but like external buzz. Like I follow game journalists and game reviewers and games writers, and there's buzz. People have played this game and they like this game. The last time there was buzz, and I got a lot of fantasy critic points out of this, was Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I have to decode the buzz though. It's like I have to decode what game they're talking about because they're very like cryptic about it. They're like, "Oh, there's a game coming out and it's a banger," and I'm like, "Okay." Get the peach hat on. Get the magnifying glass out. Look for the clues. Amy's gonna guess 80. Fuck it.
Hell yeah.
In fact, the next game we're gonna guess is Earth Defense Force 6. And just to save ourselves some time, Vitz, I'm just gonna write 80 next to my name. I'm going for a strategy this week.
Sure.
I don't know if you can tell what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask Detective Peach to have a look at this one to deduce what was happening. Right. This game,
Earth Defense Force games, and I've played one, by the way. I got a review code for Earth Defense Force 5 on PlayStation 4, and I played it, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 70 for this one.
Well, that's gone in the wrong place.
Oh, no, that's
Amy's guessed 7,080. It doesn't seem possible, but she's done crazier things in her time. Yeah, Earth Defense Force. Like, people love that game. But again, it's about critics, not people.
Yes, this is the thing. And then
critics
all those
are
people.
I'm not saying critics aren't people, internet.
Yeah, but all the people are going to be like, well, I'm going to love this game even more because critics don't know what they're talking about, TM.
I mean, I can't say I haven't done that before. Like, I've reached a stage of my life where I pay attention to reviews still. Like, I do look at OpenCritic academically, not just because we do this game and we do Fantasy Critic. I do look to see how the buzz around games is, but like, I ignore the scores. Like
Mm.
I read blurbs and I read reviews, and I actually like take in the things that people are writing, because I've always been a strong believer of like when I do a review, when I used to do reviews. Hi Lauren. When I used to do reviews, I was my overriding goal was I'm gonna get across my opinion of a game.
Mhm.
Whether I liked it, whether I didn't, what I liked about it, what I didn't. But I always wanted to make sure that I was explaining myself in a way where even if I didn't like something, but it was a game that you were going to like, you would hear all of the things that I was saying, go, actually, I really like those things. I should check
Yeah.
this game out. And I like it when reviewers do that.
Mhm.
Like, I read Eurogamer's review of Shadow of the Erdtree, which was a 3-star review. And like, it was very informative to me in terms of, oh, I feel that way about other games, so this might apply to this game, so on and so forth. Like I read reviews for Alone in the Dark, and even though those reviews were negative, like overall it doesn't have a very particularly positive OpenCritic score. My overall opinion was I should play this game. I think I'm going to get a lot out of it. And you know, you were there when I reviewed it. I did.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a bad idea to see an OpenCritic score, and it's like, oh, it's 62. Oh, I'm definitely going to skip this game. It's like, you shouldn't, because you might like it. You should at least check out why it's a 62, because maybe you'll disagree.
100%.
Not in a not in the way that you just
Not in a
said,
fuck
where it's
you,
like,
I'm gonna
oh,
love this
fucking game
regardless, yeah.
critics don't know what they're talking about, but in a way of like, oh, maybe actually like they're not vibing with it, whereas I would.
Yeah.
Sorry to take your joke there and make it a serious thing.
No, 100%. It's one of these things of you've also got to get a sense of the personality who's reviewing these games, and obviously you'll vibe with different people, and you'll be more in line with different people and their kind of vibes on games as well, and you can get a good sense of the words they've written. Not just the score, but the words they've written of, this person, I tend to like the games that they like as well.
Mhm.
Therefore, if they're glowing about this game, which I potentially haven't heard of before, then there's a likelihood that I will enjoy this too. And there's going to be some reviewers out there who you don't vibe with. And if they're reviewing a product or a title which typically isn't in their wheelhouse, then you know to take their views not necessarily with a grain of salt, but don't put as much water in them as you would with a a genre that they're super familiar with, that kind of thing. So
like
it swings and roundabouts.
It's weird. It's a weird one, because I always think like the most valuable Elden Ring review is the one written by somebody who isn't like me, someone who's a FromSoft freak. Like, like I find that different perspective quite interesting and valuable. In fact, as a former game reviewer, I have a lot to say on this subject. I might bring it up as a topic next week.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I got a lot out of that experience, and some of it was positive and some of it was negative, and I think it might be something worth discussing next week.
Hell yeah.
As for this
Well,
week,
that sounds good.
we have a problem.
We can say a few words. Don't you?
It's
Don't you worry
Moody's
about it.
time
You
to
throw it to
shine.
me. It is Moody's time to shine.
It's
Hello,
Moody's
my
time
name's
to shine. This
Hello,
I
my
tried it
name's
once
Vitz
and I was
Patel.
terrible at it. It's Vitz's turn.
Hello, my name is Vitz Patel. I'll be playing the part of Moody today. Apologies and thank you.
Oh wait, I have an idea.
Hey everybody, it's video game day. It's Friday, potentially where you're listening to this in your part of the world. Be sure to high five the sky, live long and prosper. Tell any conservatives or Republicans where in your region of the world to go fuck themselves. Whatever you do to the best of your abilities, we love you. We're proud of you. Do the thing or don't do the thing. It's your choice. Don't let anybody tell you what to do, but also reach for your dreams. Reach for the stars again. Also high five that sky one more time. And we love you. Peace out. Goodbye.
With the hail of harpoon.
Exactly. I think we nailed it.
I think we nailed it.